Hello there, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you're calling from. It's great to see all of you coming in today's session. We got many friendly names and faces, so welcome back if you are one of the many regulars to this session. And I can also see some entirely new names. So if you are new to our Waybook webinar world, then welcome, welcome. For those of you who I've not had the pleasure of meeting, my name's Mike. I'm one of the co-founders here at Waybook. And this is one of my favorite times of the month. If you are a regular, you'll know that I say that regularly because it's true. Because in today's session, we're running through the fundamental product updates that have hit your Waybook account over the last 4 weeks or so. So it is February. I am excited to share everything that's gone forward. But before we begin, let's just do a couple of housekeeping. So we'd like to keep this as interactive as possible. So if you are here, then please say hello. In the chat, we do have the fantastic Sophia and also Diego from the Waybook side on today's call. So please feel free to say hello. Hi, Nicole, and tell us where you're calling from. I'm currently calling from London. I've moved myself from Cape Town back to London, so my escaping the winter here in the UK hasn't lasted too long. Hey, Erin from Minneapolis, Nicole, Chicago, Rachel, hello. Lots of people there. Great to see you all. Another Londoner, hello, hello, and Seattle, love it. Well, in today's session, what we're going to go through is the fundamental changes in your Waybook account. And really, this is just the top of the kind of core changes that have happened. Those of you who are eagle-eyed amongst you within the Waybook, within your Waybook account, will know that things change regularly and things change and are updated often. So often we'll put something out and then get a thought or a question or a feedback or a thank you from people before we've even had a chance to release this, whatever that feature may be. So some of this you may have seen, some of this may be entirely new for you. But what we'll cover today are the four core changes, which are our improved mobile experience. We also are looking at our learning paths optimization. We also have an improved control for search and also for ask. And then we also have some amendments to our document review process. Now, in the background, many of you will know that context is one of the main things that we're working on at the moment. That's one of our core product work streams. I'm not talking about that today because I know I've kind of explored this over the last 2 months sessions. But there is lots of things that are changing within context and also within notes. If you're sitting there thinking, Mike, what are you talking about? What is context? What is notes? Go to YouTube and watch last week's one, or of course, search context on Waybook, and you'll see the wonderful world of context. It is by beta release, so if you don't have access, let us know and we'll get it onto your account. But let's just kick off with the easiest one because I'm not going to click through and show you. I'm just going to tell you that it's there. And this is our improved mobile experience. Now, the reason why we wanted to focus on this is because one thing that we truly believe in within Waybook is about removing the friction between your team and the company knowledge. And we know that the best ways that people do this are for the search and ask function, and also just making sure that they're never too far away from the content, wherever that is. Now, if you have Waybook across your business and you're mainly using it on the web, that's great. But definitely encourage people to download the browser extensions. So on the browser extensions, this is either on Chrome or Safari or Firefox or whatever that may be. And it means that they can search directly from the browser extension. Make sure you're installing the Slack or the Teams app, which basically means you can see Waybook within Teams. And every time you're communicating with someone, instead of searching on Waybook and sharing a link, you can literally just slash Waybook, search for logo or whatever that may be, and send that file directly from a search within your Teams or Slack. And the third thing to make sure that your team do is, of course, to download the mobile app. Now, we've seen a massive uptick in the mobile app usage. And in order to improve that, what we've done is we've removed a lot of kind of small niggles that people had around the app. There's a huge performance boost in terms of speed and also in terms of accessibility. And the key thing that's changed is that you can now not just search, but you can use Ask within the apps as well. So it works exactly like it does on the site. And this really just means that your team essentially have an AI-powered manager, always available, always accessible, for them 24 hours fluent in the business. Now, this is available on all accounts and it is available both in iOS and also in Android. So you can head over to the store and download that immediately. Now, let's jump into something a little bit meatier, a little bit more in depth that we can kind of go through on our account here. Now, this is the learning path optimization. So almost everybody of you, all of you on the call would know that learning path is the way that we customize our existing content through in an order to make sure that it can be used for effective onboarding or training for your team. But the reason why we thought it would be useful to focus on this is because we heard that actually it's so important that when somebody's through their onboarding process, that they stay focused on their onboarding. So yes, we might give them to access to a wider set of documents, but when they're on a piece of information, we want them to stay on that piece of information. Now, this is useful for managers creating paths before you create content, because essentially you need to create your documents and then the pathway creates the path through. But we've now made a slight amendment so you can actually quick create documents. So what we're actually talking about here, and I will show you in a moment, is we've entirely changed the sidebar navigation of paths. We've also changed how you can create documents from within paths, and also we've increased the focus of the Start Here widget on the dashboard, basically only to focus on the most important documents that people need to focus on. Now, this is available in all accounts. It's available now. So you can see this either in the paths area or, of course, from the dashboard. But let me just share my screen and we'll have a little look around in terms of what we're actually talking about. So if we kind of look at this Waybook dashboard here, what we can do is this learning path is going to be prioritized as the Start Here. So if you've added somebody into your account and you've created a learning path, then that will take precedent on top of the other documents within the navigation. Now, the key thing to think about this Start Here widget is that it will always prioritize the most important and most urgent information that that person should know. So if you create a document that is got a deadline for tomorrow. So let's say, for example, we've just had a supplier outage or we're getting particular refund requests on a particular product or a SKU. We might create an SOP specifically for that, set it as a deadline for tomorrow, and then everybody will get that bumped to the top of their list, as well as getting email reminders. But if you don't have any specific deadlines, it will default down to your paths. Now, this view looks entirely the same. You can see what paths people have. But when I click into a path, what I'm able to see is the documents down that left-hand side. So before you would click into a document and yes, you can go to the next document, but you didn't have a clear vision of where you were within the path. But now we can see that I've completed this purpose and background document. So when I click on that path, it will actually auto expand to the next thing that's available for me. And then when I click into this document, you'll see that, yes, I can go through this document here and mark myself complete. But as well as seeing the progress on the document bar, we'll also see it on the path, the document bar within the path and also within the path itself. So when I've completed these documents, what it will do is it will complete itself. It will mark this as complete on the left-hand side, and it will automatically then take me to the next document, which inconveniently for me is an empty example document. So just imagine that this is a beautiful SOP or one of your brilliant documents within there. But the key thing here is that you're able to always know where you are from a user, and you're able to go back in. Erin, I can see you there. Thanks for the improved path that you use. I'm calling you out there, Erin, because one of the people who I spoke to in more depth about this and really got a lot of feedback from our call and pass to the product team was, of course, you, Erin, and a few other amazing people as well. So thank you so much. This completes the round circle of a request into a specking out, into a progress, into launching this as well. So hopefully paths will keep your team much more organized and much more focused as you're going through the onboarding or the training. Now let's move to number 3. The number 3 is actually giving you more control over your search and also your ask. Now, many of you will know that as soon as you put a document within your Waybook, it is entirely searchable and it's also accessible by Ask. You'll also know that if you're in edit mode, you will be able to search for documents that are unpublished. And if you're in reader mode, you'll only be able to see for published documents. But one thing that we've realized is actually uh, more and more people are using Search and Ask as their main utility within their Waybook. But sometimes we need to focus those results, particularly for editors or people who have access to lots of different information. Now, what we've done here is actually given you the ability to remove a document from either search or ask. Now, this is available in all of your accounts, and it's also available in the document settings is how you get to it. But let's just jump in a little bit to have a little sense on how and also why you might want to use this. So let's say, for example, we go into here and we do our logo search, which is obviously my favorite search. So you'll jump into that, you're able to find your logo files, you'll move through things like that. But let's say that we have some information within our document that is really important for us to have, but we only want it as part of an onboarding pathway and we don't want it in search. Or what we see people needing this more is, say, for example, you have your annual your meeting minutes within Waybook, which we see a lot of people do. You might want them searchable, but you don't want them accessible with an ask, because sometimes if you add too much information into the AI model of contradictory information, then sometimes it can mean that the ask answer might be longer and doesn't just answer people's questions immediately. So if I go into the edit mode here, I go into settings, then from this settings page, I can actually decide whether to exclude that from search or actually to exclude that from ask. Now, this is done on an individual basis, so you can remove it from ask or remove it from search. And as soon as you do that, that will change the index of your page. And that will mean that if I'm searching for logo files, then that's not going to show up. Now, this is particularly useful if you're using Waybook for lots of different types of documents that you just need for reference. But of course, please do use that sparingly, because remember, if you remove it from search and ask, then people will not be able to see it when they're using search and ask. That's pretty obvious, but worth pointing out on that side. So that is available in all of your accounts, and you can see that within your document settings page. The final thing for us to explore through today is our document review manager process. So the way that you can manage your document reviews has optimized and changed. So why we thought this was important was we've been seeing an uptick in the use of document review process. So people making a change and just asking somebody to have a quick look at it. Now, we've also seen that there are a lot of people who are asking for reviews, but the document has an approval process on, and sometimes you don't want to run it through an approval process before you get a quick review on it. This will make sense when I show you what it is, in case you're not yet using approval processes. Now, what it actually is the ability to request a review on a document that has approval enabled. We also then show you an icon on all of the documents within review process, and we've created a quick filter within your manage view for you to be able to see your documents. Now, how you access this is available in all accounts, and actually it's accessible on the documents and also in manage. So let me make a quick jump back into this account and just have a little look at what that's going to be. So if I kind of go over to a document here, let's say we want to make a change on this document, we'll go into the edit mode. Now, all of the changes that we might want to make, we can either publish, but of course we can actually request that review. Now, if I request Diego on this call here to make a review, that will then push that into a review cycle. And we can see, and everybody in fact can see, that this document has an open review. And it also then means that we can open the review, I can cancel it, or Diego can of course come in and perform that review. Now, going into the document manage mode, what you'll see on the quick views is you'll also now be able to have a look at documents that you need to review, which I'm up to speed, and that's all very good. But the other thing you can do is actually look at documents that you have requested a review. So if you're in a part of your editing cycle where you say, okay, I need to go through and I need to request a review, but I'm not sure if Diego's got back to me on a couple of them, instantly we can either scan for the review icon here, or we can look for the specific things that I've got in review and a pending review. And then from there, we can contact Diego, we can add a comment on that doc. So let's say we want to just say, hi Diego, any thoughts on that, whatever that may be. Now, that's all well and good. So let me kind of cancel that review and go back to this. Now, the other thing that I mentioned is if you've got an approval process on, and for those of you who may have missed that edition of the Waybook updates, an approval process basically locks the publish of that document down until the relevant people have approved it moving forward. Now, if you've got publish access, then you have the ability to turn on or indeed turn off approval process on a document. So let me turn it on and I can say, okay, well, the next approval stage, let's say we've got a legal check and I just need anyone from the legal group to access that. Or of course, Flavio can do that, whatever that may be. But let's say, for example, we're happy with these 3 stages of approval. We make a save to that process. Now, instead of publishing, I can make a change and actually I will then submit that for approval. Now, that submission of approval will then go into a flow. I am the first approver, so I can accept it and it will go through. But I can actually also then just always see what stage of the approval it is, who's necessary in order to complete it, any additional feedback or comments on that. And that, of course, will then always sit within the activity of the document. So we can see version 1.1 had a full approval process, a full conversation and moving forward. However, if I just cancel this approval request that we have now, the thing that I mentioned before is if you've got submit for approval on, it means that you can't really make small publishes or have smaller conversations. So now you can also request a review on top of that. So say I've made all of these changes and I actually just need Diego to review that. I can now push that to Diego, make that review. It will go into open review, and when he's happy, then we can push it for approval. So we think that this is quite a specific use case where you'll actually want to use both review and also approval on top of one another, but it's more just focused on making sure that you've got that flexibility to make sure that you're able to really manage the individual documents within your account for the level of tracking, compliance, and control that's necessary on your side. So again, quite an advanced feature. Approval process is a pro feature, but of course, all of the things related to your kind of review process are available in all your accounts. And also, Aaron, you've thanked us for those changes because I believe that was another one that came from you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to make requests like Aaron, let us know. I'd like to showcase how responsive the Waybook team is in terms of optimizing Waybook and making it better for your businesses. So please do get in touch. And that really brings us towards the end of today's session. We've had 4 rapid amendments as we put in there. But remember, we're always building and we're always working. One key thing that we're working on at the moment is the AI context optimizations. So I'll actually just jump into that so you can see exactly what we're working on there. And actually, if we go into the context here, this was an example which I'd used previously. This is just a chat, a transcript which we've pulled in from everyone, from a conversation between me and a team member about how to do expenses. So context is your random files, that is your information that lives in all different places that you can literally just upload it and put it all directly into your Waybook. As soon as you've created that and put that into your Waybook, I can say, how can I file my expenses? And what Waybook will do is it will look for information within our files. But if we don't have documents, then we can actually look at the context. And this is almost like fallback information. And it will instantly be searchable. It will instantly give you answers. It will be able to do lots of different things. Now, the optimizations that are happening here is that we are now able to select that document and smart convert that into an expenses policy. And actually, I'm now be able to put that into a policy, and Waybook will intelligently understand that document. And most importantly, it's actually now going to be able to understand multiple documents. So if you put in an expense file and perhaps the Expensify app FAQ and some transcripts and some policies, then you can select all of these files or multiple files and then convert that into a policy or a procedure, and it will do all of that as you move forward. However, there's two things that we're working on within that. And I will tell you, because we've got tons of time and we're all friends here, the next thing you'll be able to do is actually, instead of deciding what document you want to create from it, we're running a pre-flight check. So you can select multiple files, so random pieces of information, conversations, whatever that may be. And soon you'll be able to select the button. Waybook will do some deeper research into what that information is and propose to you what documents you will be able to create based on the information that you have. And you just approve, oh yeah, actually, of course I want answering my phone policy based on a conversation I had in this Zoom meeting. And it will just automatically create and place that in. And then the final part of that, which will be coming in probably about 6 to 8 weeks, is you'll connect your files, upload your documents, and in the background, Waybook will just work. So you will log on, and it will just say, "Hey Diego, hey Sophia, I noticed that you have this this information. Do you want to turn that into a piece of information, a piece of knowledge, which obviously you can then train, activate, onboard, and do whatever else you want moving forward." So that's a sneak peek into what's coming in the future. I will then just head back to the other things we're working on. We're always optimizing on the interface and making sure that this is lightning fast for you to centralize your knowledge and remove all the friction between your team and getting that information. There's so much more that we're working on, but that brings us to the end of today's session. I'm going to ask you if you've got any thoughts or questions now. Now is the time in the chat or in the Q&A. I can see, Emily, you've said when someone leaves feedback, it takes you to the document, but not the step. Erin, you've said you can post comments on specific steps and there's a toggle in the field. So yes, Emily, you've got a great point there. So if I go in here and I go to the third step and I give a bit of feedback, this is excellent, let's say, and I give that as positive feedback. Now that will then notify the document owner, who in this case is Hermione. Spoiler alert, Hermione is made up. You can tell we've got some Harry Potter fans on this side of the Waybook. So now we can go into that. We can look at my feedback. Now, if you look at current step, yes, it is actually on that step. So actually, I can go into all. But then if I go to current step, it won't be on there. So it will take us to that specific step, and the feedback on the step will only be in that individual step. I mean, the email you get to follow it back. Okay, that's a good piece of feedback there, Emily. So you basically want to select the piece of feedback and it will open you up into that individual step. That feels very logical and very doable. Thank you very much, Emily. Amazing. So I'm going to revert back. If you've got any other thoughts, any other questions, now is your time in the chat. But whilst I hang on for the next 30 seconds or so, I'd like to thank you all very much for joining me today. Once again, I'm Mike, one of the co-founders here at Waybook. If you ever have any thoughts or questions or you need some support, please do let us know. We're always really excited to speak to you and your teams. But until that, I will come to your point there, Erin, and we'll look a little bit more into AI context. But yeah, if anybody was leaving now, now's the time. If not, I'm going to talk a little bit more about context. So Erin, you wanted us to go back over context just a minute. I'll jump into that, but if there's anything specific you wanted to know, please do let me know within that. So the fundamentals here is that context is where, or your Waybook is where information becomes knowledge. We all have these pieces of documentation and transcripts and files and policies scattered across lots of different places. So we know in order to organize that, you basically want to pull all of that information and turn that into Waybook documents. Because as soon as something is a Waybook document, we've got the version control, we've got the feedback, we've got the tracking, we've got the testing, we've got everything. But the process of creating that can be sometimes quite difficult. It basically means that you need to have a structure that you're happy with. Every piece of knowledge or information needs to be confirmed and put in the right place. So context is almost like that staging ground. So if you've got a new policy, if you've got a new procedure, if you've got some raw information that is useful for your team to know, but you don't quite know where it lives and you've not confirmed it, you can just put that into your context. Any sorts of files. Currently, it's mainly focused on Word files and PDFs, but you can also put other files within that. Now, instantly, when something is in context, it will automatically be added to your private files. So I can search, I can interact. And the other thing you can do is you can also create notes. So before we had notes in a separate section, whereas now your notes will live within context. So I might say, notes on video editing. So when video editing, make sure that make sure to use a jump cut, right? So I've just created that as a quick note. In the background, any of your context, notes, files, whatever you put into it, is basically going to process that. It's going to make a bit of a suggestion about it. And now if I search about what cuts should I use when video editing? Now, I don't really have any information in this Waybook about video editing, so it's going to try and answer it, but unfortunately, it doesn't have any information on it. However, we can see this little thing here. It's saying context. Context has information, and I can take myself directly to that file. I can download that, or if there's enough information in there, it will answer the question. But you're absolutely right there, Aaron. The key thing there is think of it as a staging ground. You always want to bring your information in your files into knowledge, but the staging ground is the way to do that. If there's a piece of information that you want to make accessible for everyone, then just drag it into the everyone files, and then that will automatically be searchable, askable, and accessible for everybody else. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's session. I'd like to thank you all once again for joining today. If you've got any other thoughts or questions, please do get in touch, and we really look forward to seeing you in the next sessions throughout the next couple of weeks. Have an amazing one, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care now.